And I'll tell you, when I got to know this, I don't think I had any friends or neighbors that really I could appreciate. Bill,
I enlisted.
You enlisted?
He didn't have any brains then either.
Yeah. Well, I was born and raised on an Iowa farm. I didn't care much for that dairy work. And it was obvious I was going to be drafted. So I chose to take a chance and enlisted. Somehow I got through the whole program.
Yeah. Well, you know, the reason I was, I wouldn't say pissed off, but I was working for what was then the War Department, which was the Army Air Force, Air Corps. And I was working out of Topeka, Kansas, and we were getting the B-17s and 24s ready to go over to Africa. And I get this notice, as your friends and neighbors that's like with you, you know. I think, oh, geez, I'm not supposed to get drafted. But it seems like I didn't have any choice. I was drafted. So when I went into service, I ended up doing the same damn thing I was doing working for the government. I ended up going into, I went down to Agman Field, Florida, which was at that time a Proving Ground Command. And what we did down there is any time a new airplane was built, we developed the armament packages that they put on it and did a lot of research and development for getting the airplane ready for combat duty. So that was our job down there. And like I say, I had each group, we had 9 fields down there, and each group had a certain type of airplane. And they would take them up. For instance, we developed the armament packages, the number of guns and how they were arranged and everything in the airplane, the types of bombs that they could carry, the bomb racks and things of that nature. And when rockets first came out, we developed the rocket pods, or packages, and we had 2.75 rockets that they were firing, and the package originally was developed to fire, I think it was 7 rockets. Well, the first time we fired them, they went in all directions. We had no control over them. So what they did is they extended the pod itself and reduced the number of rockets they carried down to 5, and it worked a lot better then. So that's the type of thing we did down there in Florida. We did a lot of experimenting with the gun packages on the airplane, the number of guns, the amount of ammunition it carried. For instance, on the 46, originally they had 8 50 caliber machine guns in the wings, and originally they decided, well, we're going to put 400 rounds per gun. Well, you take it 400 times 8, that's 3,200 rounds of ammunition, 50 caliber, and each shell weighs about a little over a pound, I think. And that's a lot of weight. So what they decided to do was, rather than put 400 rounds, they cut it down to 385. That reduced some of the weight. And this way, of course, they ran out of ammunition faster, but they could get all of the guns working at one time. And we experimented with putting switches in there to where they could fire maybe 2 guns on each side, or 3 guns on each side, or 1 gun on each side, and reduce the amount of ammunition they were wasting. You know, we thought they were wasting. But then the pilot says, hey, we don't like this 1 gun, 2 gun, 3 gun routine. They want all 8. You get an airplane with 8 50s, there ain't nothing left.
That's pretty good.
Do you want to just kind of go through those questions that you have there?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe just get a short answer on the...
Oh, yeah. So, did any of your friends join, or
What's that?
did any of your friends enlist?
Some of them did. In my particular area, most of the guys were drafted. And I know when the war broke out, I was in high school. And I know a lot of the guys went in right then and there. They were enlisted. But I had already had this job set up in the right field, so I went to work. But after the initial impact of the war, a lot of guys waited to be drafted rather than go ahead and enlist. I think Bill enlisted, didn't you?
Well, because I was from a small high school back in Iowa. I think we had about 42 graduates. Most of the guys waited to be drafted, but there were a few of us enlisted. I can't tell you, what percent it was. If guys enlisted, they enlisted in other Army or maybe the Navy.
Were you in the
like
Air
that.
Force? Or?
And as far as I know, I'm the only one that enlisted in the Air Force.
Okay. You were in the? Were you in the Air Force?
Air Force, yeah.
Air Force. One more. What did you envision it would be like after you joined?
What's that?
What did you envision it would be like after you joined?
What was the invasion like?
No,
What do you
what do you think
envision?
it would be like after you joined?
Oh, I figured, well, Jesus, you're going to go over, and if you're going to get shot at, you're going to get shot at. Well, I'll do what I have to do,
Yeah.
There were guys getting shot up and everything, but fortunately, I stayed in the States, so I didn't have, I didn't have that problem. But Bill, yeah, he had another problem.
In my case, of course, you had a standard program of training as cadet and so forth. By the time you got out of Castle Air Force Base there, you had your choice. What you wanted to, well, they gave your choice theoretically whether you could become a fighter pilot or a bomber, big engine aircraft. And I chose the 4-engine. I thought, well, now air transport would be a good deal to get into. But I didn't get that, but I did get the 4-engine on the B-17s.
That's cool.
Low and slow.
That was the choice that I made. A lot of the real daring just really go for broke for fighter pilots,
Yeah.
And they're the guys that became the aces over there, maybe where I was at in England or all over the world.
That's cool. Where did you go during the war?
My combat was out of England, 8th Air Force. We bombed Germany.
Oh, really? You were in the United States, right?
Yeah, I was basically stationed in Egmont Field, Florida. And then just before the war ended, I was posted as a B-29 flight engineer. I went to Maxwell Field, Alabama, at the B-29 school. But fortunately, I was a fortunate guy. The war ended before I got out.
Does your service end when the war ends, or you got to stay in even though the war had ended?
Well, I was drafted, and I didn't have any choice. So when the war ended, actually, I was at Maxwell Field, and there was about, I don't know, 1,500 of us in the B-29 school, and they decided to just discharge us. So when the war ended, I was just pushed out of the service.
It's about the same with me. They had to get rid of all these people because the war was over. They didn't need any more soldiers, so to speak. Santa Ana out here was one of the bases where they sent us to be discharged. And we sat around there sometimes. I guess I sat around there for a couple of months for them to get around to me to just discharge me. There were so many people. And so we just sort of lived it up and ate. And that's about all we did there.
Yeah, that's like me. They sent me to Chanute Field up in Illinois, and I sat around there for about 3 months, and nothing ever happened. They finally decided, well, they sent me to Fort Dix, New Jersey, and I finally got out of the service in Fort Dix after a couple of weeks.
Oh, so did you travel around when you were when you went overseas, or did you stay on one base? Or?
We stayed mostly on one base.
Okay.
It's called Bury St. Edmunds in England. And